Alright, today I'm going to show you 10 more boondoggles that I've made. There's a sneak preview. These are I just make one of these videos once I've made 10 more. Then I just add them to my collection. So they're just random. Some of them are just not that cool, but I made them nonetheless. A lot of times these small ones come out of when I just have some spare string in my pocket and I'm bored. This is one that I've had in my drawer for a very long time. Just started just the keyring and the beginning square stitch part, but I just expanded on it. I even did some down here. I did some of the triangle stitch, if I can get it to focus. Oh my goodness, my phone. Here, I'll in this background. Right here I did some of the triangle stitch, but with a strand going through it. So there's the circle stitch, and then there's... Anyway, my recommendation is don't do the triangle stitch, the twisted triangle stitch with a strand going through the middle, because it makes it awkwardly spaced out. It doesn't look right. So there's your example. Sorry, I'm a little bit sick right now. But then there's just this corkscrew stitch, and this is the same story. I had this one started, I did about that much a very long time ago, and then it just sat in my drawer for forever. And then I was just going through and I was like, I just need to finish this real quick. So that's, I guess, why you can see I did this part back when I used to not really pull my boondoggles this tight. And then down here is the part that I just recently finished, and it's a lot tighter. And I'm going in order from kind of the least complex, least number of strings to more complex. So here's one. I recently got some of this. They call it the tie-dye Rex lace. So I've been using it in a few different projects. And this is one of them that uses clear, dark green, and then tie-dye. And I split it up into 2 triangle stitches, some brick, and some twist stitches in there as well. This is one took me a long time to make, not because it was difficult, well, partially because it was difficult. It's a lot of square stitch, like a lot of square stitch, but also because I wasn't particularly interested in boondoggling for the entire duration of doing this one, and so I would work on it a little bit, and then I would stop boondoggling for months, and then I would work on it, and then I would stop. Anyway, I kind of just barely got back into the hobby of boondoggling recently, but basically what it is it's a big black and dark blue square stitch, and then there's these yellow, mainly yellow square stitches kind of wrapping around it, but they all have these 90-degree direction changing thingies. So the entire thing does have a tendency to want to curl, and I'm holding my phone with one hand, so I can't demonstrate with 2 hands, but that's kind of the downside of it. But I do think that it turned out looking pretty cool. So I'll show this one next. This one has a bit of a sad story behind it. There's, as you can see, one bead is kind of obviously missing. I had this particular project displaying on my trombone case, because I'm studying music in college, and I had it displaying on my trombone case, and so it would kind of get whipped around and jostled around a lot. And at some point, it's crazy because none of these strands are broken. The strings are all intact. It's just that there used to be a green bead that was going all the way around them, but somehow this thing must have gotten like crushed under my trombone to the point where the bead itself just broke and was lost. And so now it looks kind of like that. But even with that bead missing, I do still like the finished product of how this one turned out. I need to get some more brown string. I don't have any of that right now, and I have a lot of boondoggle projects that I think look pretty cool with the brown string. But anyway, this one, of course, just adds a bunch of strands and then has some beads. It gets up to a 9x1 wall there, and then it splits up into two 2x4 twist twisting stitches, and those both twist a full 360 degrees before it joins back together. And then this is something that I like to do, is make these kind of diamonds where it's first, you know, getting bigger by adding strands, and then it's getting smaller by, of course, taking away strands. And so anyway, there's that boondoggle. And that has been 6. So about the 4 that remain are probably the coolest 4. So here's this one. I have been trying to put key rings or attachments of some sort on the end of all my boondoggles lately, so that I can potentially display them as keychains or things like that. But this one does a 4x4, and then it splits into 4 square stitches, and then those square stitches have a couple of 90-degree turns that are kind of stacked on top of each other in an interesting way. And then it joins back up, and the colors of the 4x4 are, of course, kind of all messed up when it joins back up. And so just for fun, I said, I'm just going to keep going until the colors are kind of right again. And in order to do that, it ended up taking like four times of rejoining the 4 square stitches back together. So it's cool. Like, I can follow the red and white. It's right there, then it goes down, it's right there, and then it's right there, and then it's right there. So all right, next, I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm trying to go relatively quickly, but I have this one next. So this one starts off as kind of like a little bit of a super fluted columns. So it's a fluted columns, but it's lengthened by 1 string in each of the 4 directions. Then I did that for, I think, 10 stitches, and then I split it up into 4 pentagon stitches. So there's 4 stitches that split up into, and each one is 5 strands, 5 pieces of string. And then I just repeated that, and like I said, I think I did 10 stitches each time. And then my biggest regret with this one is at the beginning, as you can see, this kind of column looks good. You know, each of these 5 things is the same, and this one looks good. But this one right here doesn't really look good, and neither does this one. And that's just because this first time I split up, I wasn't planning ahead as much, and so I didn't orient the pentagon stitches kind of in a uniform way. And so I wish I could just rotate those 2 that are at the very beginning, because as you can see, you know, this side happened to all line up because I realized later on in doing it that I wanted it to line up. And so it kind of looks good when you look at it this way. When you look at it this way, that top portion just looks a little bit off, which is too bad. All right, and then next, this is the second to last. This one I just barely finished yesterday. So this is a little bit of an interesting project. So I'll show you real quick. Here, I'll set my phone down. All right, I found it. So this is kind of the V1 of this, and this I've already shown. This blue and black one I've already shown in a previous video, but it's just this concept of, and in this one it's more opaque, so you can't see the inside, but inside of each of these portions that are only black is a blue, the dark blue square stitch, which cannot be seen in this one. So, but the difference with this new one is that you can see that inside square stitch because I used clear colored string. So, and I did that on purpose. When I laid out this initial 2x6 wall, I oriented the strings in such a way that I knew when it split up that it would be kind of this green and yellow square stitch that was enclosed within a clear square stitch. So that's how that kind of looks. And then there's kind of 2 of them. And then it joins back together, and then I did a 2x6 twist stitch for a 180 twist, and then joined back together and repeated the whole process. So that's how that ended up. And then the last boondoggle that I have to show today is this one. And this is the biggest one probably. This is the biggest one of the day, so I saved it for last. This one is pretty long. It's probably close to a foot long. Well, probably more like maybe 9 inches long. But the reason I wanted to make it so long was because I wanted it to fully repeat the pattern back. So as you can see, this starts off as kind of this L-shaped stitch where it's 2 5x1 walls that are kind of joined at the corner. And then as it goes along, the 2 5x1 walls kind of shift places gradually to the point where here in the middle it's an inverted L. It's an L shape that's inverted from the one at the beginning, and then it tapers back to the original state. So I really like how this one ended up. This is kind of, again, a bigger version of a previous boondoggle that I've made. So let me grab that one. So here's the previous one that I made that I've shown in a previous video, this green one. So as you can see, this one starts off with an L that's made of 2 4x1 walls. So this is kind of just a one-up version of this. So this one, because of the way that I did it, I also made it taper faster at a greater rate. And then so this one has several kind of inflections on it, but this one's just one big one, and that's because of a couple of reasons. It's because one of the reasons is because this one I think I did no, that's not true. I did more stitches each time on this one, but this one, each time I moved each wall 2 spaces. I moved each wall 1 space over, whereas this one, each time I changed stitches, I only moved one of the 2 5x1 walls over, if that makes any sense. So anyway, and I think it's cool to look at it both this way, where you can see the kind of big gradual diamond, as well as this way where you can see the 2, it looks more like a big X. So anyway, I'll go ahead and line these up again. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope that this inspires you to make your own boondoggles. I know that sometimes when I sit and watch YouTube videos or look at different online galleries of other people's boondoggles, that really helps me a lot to know what kind of projects and what kind of boondoggles I want to make. And so I hope this does the same to you. And bye.